Welcome to Your Next Stop. This is Juliette Hahn. I am a wife, mom, virtual coach, public speaker, and crazy obsessed dog lover. I am so honored to be able to take you into the life of someone that has followed a passion. Every week, I hope you are as inspired as I am. Welcome to Your Next Stop. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Love What You Do at Next Stop Crazy Town. I am Juliette Hahn, the host, and I have another wonderful woman that I met on Clubhouse. Lee McQueen is helping small businesses thrive, and I can't wait till she jumps in, tells us her quotes, and then tells us how she found this passion. Hey Lee, how are you?
Hey, I am great, and it's so good to be here.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so share. I know you have two quotes because I love rule breakers.
So my favorite quote of all time is thoughts become things, choose the good ones.
Oh, I love that.
That is something that I just live by. I try to live by all the time. And, you know, it's kind of like a mantra. It's something I tell my kids all the time. It's something that's stuck next to my desk. You know, there's always a way to switch it up and change your thought around something. And,
totally.
And think a better one and choose something else. But the other day, on somebody's Clubhouse profile, I saw a quote that read something like, you might think that free things have no value, but to a man who has nothing, something free is everything.
Oh.
And that really hit home for me. It really resonated because I'm so much about, one of my core values in my business is generosity, and I've had a lot of conversations lately around this thing of should you give away things for free in business or not? And I'm always like, yes, you should. It's part of it. You know, it's part of a cycle. It all comes back to you. So I really loved that one.
Well, I love that one. And you know what? I feel like that is what Clubhouse is about, because I'm getting so much value from people on there doing just that. Like being like, you know what? There is a huge world out there, and we all will find our niche. And if we're giving back, it's all going to come back. So I love that you said that. Okay, so my quote is, either you go after the life you want or settle for the life you get. It's just plain and simple, right?
Plain and simple, and also super profound.
Yeah, I know, right? I had to read that twice, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, that is a super profound one. Okay, Lee, so I just loved, we were in a room. I mentioned that I was doing a, spot on women that have followed a passion and or hobby and made it into a career, and you were right in my DM. I loved the hustle, but I also loved, you quickly were like, this is my story. If it fits, great. If it doesn't, we'll see you around in Clubhouse. So can you tell us a little bit about where you were, how you started, and how you found your passion?
Definitely. So I'll start right at the beginning. I became an entrepreneur by accident. I was 22 and I was working as a swimming coach. Actually, I was a swimmer. So I was coaching swimming for someone, and he would only pay us if the clients paid him. And we were all getting super irritated because no one was getting paid because the guy wasn't collecting all the fees. So I went and complained and said, I don't like the way you're running your business. And he said, well, actually, I'm tired of it. Do you want it? You can have it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. Let's try this. I actually had got into swimming coaching because my husband's whole family had swimming centers. So he obviously knew that, I could make it work. So it was my boyfriend at the time. So I went home and said to him, let's try this. So that's how it started. And I very quickly became super, super passionate about business, even though I quickly realized I wasn't that passionate about the swimming side. Business just did it for me, anything in business. So that turned into 12 years of us building that brand together. But there was always a bit of a disconnect because it was my husband's thing. It was his passion. It was his, swimming was his life. And I had I put my passion into it, but it was always him in the spotlight and his thing. And I felt like I was breaking my back and breaking my soul, building this thing that was his. And there was no space left for me to do my thing. So eventually we left that business. We moved on from that. And instead of, I had this perfect opportunity to start something that I would be passionate about, which is what I'm doing now. But I decided to hide behind my husband again and help him build a second business.
Okay.
And that's where all these issues of am I worthy as a woman to stand up in business as in my own right? Those sort of feelings were coming up, and I just thought, well, I didn't feel confident enough. I had this belief that I needed a man to be the face of the business. I needed a man to stand in front of me and be the one that the public saw, and I would just do all the hard work in the background. So I got myself into another situation of running a business that was somebody else's passion. And over the last sort of 3 years or so, I've slowly broken away from that and got into a place where we just moved step by step closer to my core passion, which is business, women, sustainability, building something that is going to last a lifetime and leave a legacy, and business in a way that feels good. A lot of this comes from my early days running that business when there weren't many women entrepreneurs, and there was very little support for me. Especially as a young 20-ish year old, it was hard, and all the courses I did were all very male dominated, male energy, hardcore salesy, not me at all. So my passion has become helping women to get the support that I didn't have, and to create small businesses in a different way.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So does your husband still have that second business that you guys started together?
He did. So during COVID, it was really difficult to keep it going. So he gave it to his staff in the end to run, because we'd left the country. They were running it, and he was sort of managing it remotely, and it wasn't sustainable. So he kind of pieced it up and let them take over.
Okay, so what country was that, and then where did you guys?
So that was in Cape Town, South Africa.
Okay.
That's a whole other story. I don't know if you want to hear about how our life just got turned upside down. We went on we sold everything in September 2019 to go on this amazing year or two traveling around the world, homeschooling our kids.
Wow. Okay.
Our first stop was Mallorca, an island off Spain.
Yep.
My brother lives there, so we thought it would be a nice spot to start, see the cousins, that sort of thing. And within a week or so of us arriving, we realized we had a paperwork issue with our children, and we couldn't actually move on yet.
Okay.
So we had to stick around for a few months to sort that out, South African stuff and Spanish stuff, and figure all that out. And then literally 5 days before our appointment to pick up the documents, the lockdown happened. So,
oh my gosh.
So
and this is when you guys were still running the second business.
Yeah, so he was still running that business. I was doing other sort of freelancing little bits and pieces online.
Okay. Yeah. So and how old are your kids at this time in 2019?
So they were, when we left South Africa, they were 11 and 7.
Okay. So it was you had this huge opportunity to travel the world. You go to see your brother. I've actually been to Mallorca, and I probably said that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. So you go there, you realize you have paperwork issues, and then COVID hits. Okay. So, and you have this company that your husband has, this company that you kind of are okay, this is your thing. It's the second company that you did that you're not passionate about. Yeah. And now you're stuck in Spain. Okay. So then what happens from there?
So before the lockdown started, we were sort of stuck. We were in a kind of a lockdown of our own. We didn't really know anyone. We didn't have a life there. It was really... Right. We started to try and make a bit of a life. My son's really into water polo. My daughter's into dancing. We signed them up for things. But in this kind of treading water, staying in the same place time, my husband said to me, encouraged me a lot, constantly, why don't you just really go into this helping people start businesses idea that you've been wanting to do for so long. I'd started it 3 times and then pulled back and gone I'm not ready for this. So okay. I did it. So I did it in January last year, January 2020. I decided, let's just try it. And it turned out to be amazing, because come March, April, suddenly the whole world wanted to start a business online.
Yes.
And I was right there to help them. So
that's so fantastic. Cool. And I love that your husband, you supported him for so long, that he was really pushing you to do, because he saw your talents and gave you that that confidence to do it. And a lot of women don't have that. A lot of women don't have, and I shouldn't say a lot, but there's people that don't have that, women and men that don't have someone that's their cheerleader. I'm very fortunate that I have a husband that also believes in what I believe. And when I'm passionate about something, he's like, go for it, see what happens. So I feel like we're very connected there. Like we're so fortunate that we have that, because if you don't have that, that's really hard, especially if you have a passion. So you started it in 2019. Tell us the name. First of all, I love Lee McQueen. I mean, you sound like a famous person, first of all. It just reminds me of it's a name that is something. So what's the name of your company? How can people find you?
So I can't really say I have a name for my company, to be honest. I just call, like, all my social media, and that is Lee McQueen. I call myself a small business mentor and trainer. I did call myself the small business minimalist for a little while, because I felt like that embodied, I like to keep things simple, but I found it was really a difficult concept for people to understand. When they think of minimalism, they think of, like real stark white walls, and it didn't fit with me, with what I really am about, which is a lot more like on the fun side and keeping it simple, yes, but having fun. Business is fun, life is fun, that sort of thing. But just your what you were saying about supportive partners, my husband was unbelievably supportive. We had this conversation where I said to him, I think I've been hiding behind you for all these years. And he's like, yeah, but that's what I've been trying to tell you. Like, I've been going, you're running the business, you come up and take the limelight, and you keep telling me to go. Like, I don't want to do that. I want you to. So it was such an interesting thing
a good conversation that you guys have. But so I love that he supported you. Okay, so people can find you at Lee McQueen. That's like all your social media handles. They can find you there.
Yeah. So I am Lee McQueen is my social media, is my Instagram and Clubhouse.
Totally. I love that. I am Lee McQueen. Of course you are Lee McQueen. I love that. So, okay. So then so you guys, are you still in Mallorca? And then I want you to tell us a little bit about like your process of your small business, company.
Okay. So now we are in England, in the UK. We're in the south of Devon, which we always said if we do move to England again, half my family's English, that we'll live on the south coast, and it's gorgeous, and we're loving it so far. It's been 5 months. We just decided to do that because we realized we weren't going to get to travel anytime soon. So let's go and put down roots somewhere else. Get the kids in school. And sorry, what was your next question? So you landed in the UK, and you're starting this business as you're going, and it's scary. I mean, that's the one thing, that's what I want this series to talk about, right? It's scary, but you did have support. But not everyone gets support, but you are like, okay, I'm doing this. Your whole life has been turned upside down because you had this plan and you had to pivot, which I'm sure was not easy, right? I mean, not easy.
Especially when you have 2 kids to also think about, like you have to think about their mindset. How are they doing? And that whole time you have this business plan that you're running, and you're like, okay, I'm doing this. So take us a little bit through like your mindset, and then like how you started it. Like, what was the first step that was like, okay, I'm doing this, after your husband was like, you got to do this. This is what you should do.
Okay. So the first thing I did to kind of get started is I put it out there on social media that I'm doing this, and I said I'm offering about 30 free kind of coaching calls just to figure out like what is it all about, how can I help people, what do people need. And that's something that I highly recommend to every business I work with, is just work with a lot of people and for free, no obligation for payment, but it's got to be the right people. Obviously they've got to be spot on your target market, and just understand what they need before you start creating things. So that was the first thing I did, was really understand what the small businesses I most want to work with need, which is people who really have like some kind of passion that they want to bring into the world. So whether that's something they're making or a course they're creating, whatever it is, something that they feel like they've got this thing and they have to bring it to life. So I felt the same. That's the process that I used. And it slowly kind of developed over time. I started working with people who were a few years into their journey, like in the beginning it's a little bit messy and you're figuring it all out. But I've now found a place where I work with beginners who are finding their feet. I help people find their feet. So sometimes that is someone who's been in business for 5 years, and sometimes they're just starting out, but they still think of themselves as a beginner.
Right.
Yeah, and it was hard, like living in Mallorca everyone kept saying, oh, but it's so nice that you're stuck on a desert island or a tropical island, like that's everybody's dream, like, oh, there's worse places to be stuck. But the truth of it was really, really hard for us, and we weren't where we wanted to be. We weren't doing what we wanted to do. We didn't ask to be stuck on a tiny island for a year, basically. We left in September, so it was a whole year. And I was constantly worried, as you say, about like my kids' mindsets, like what they were going through, having to homeschool, like stuck in this apartment all day. Spain had a really tough lockdown. My kids did not leave the house for 58 days. Ooh. It was like children were not allowed out the house. And the army was out, the police were out. It felt like a war zone. It was quite terrifying.
Yeah, that is scary.
So I really struggled to function with that environment. And when you are helping people in their businesses and everybody's terrified, no one knows what's going on with this pandemic, and they're turning to me for help and advice, and then I'm in a space where I'm like, I'm in a foreign country and there's like a policeman outside with a loud hailer telling people to stay inside. I don't know how I'm going to help people when I don't know what's going on in my own life. It was a really tough space to be in. I actually ended up backpedaling a bit and not doing much in my business for the last half of the year, second half of last year, because the anxiety that I was struggling with was just too much. And since settling here in the UK, I've managed to kind of find my feet again and be there for people a little bit more.
Right, which is unbelievable. I mean, so that's the thing. Like, you really had such an upheaval of what your whole life was, and the fact that your husband's running this other business, because you still need to bring money in, right? You still need to bring money in. So he's running this other business in a different country. You're thinking about starting this business, but you're also like, I need to think about my children and my husband and what we're doing. So you have that started, but you still have this passion that you're like, I know I want to do this. It just has to be the right time. Sometimes it is okay to wait and find the right time. But I tell a lot of like my clients, sometimes you just also need just to go for it, because it's never going to be a perfect time, but there's such a gray area, correct? I mean, would you agree with that?
I totally agree. I think you have to just feel it out day by day. You can't take one piece of advice on something like that and go with it, because it really varies for every person. But what I found is I wanted to quit in the second half of last year so many times, because the pressure was huge that I was under. As you say, like you've picked up on all the main points there. Like my husband suddenly didn't have an income, and the truth of that was, if he'd kept his business going, we would have had to end up paying in to keep it going, and we weren't in a position to do that. So you've just got to take it one step at a time. And every time I did feel like quitting, this is where the amazing support of a partner comes in. My husband would just keep saying to me, you don't have to work in it at all, just keep it going, don't close it, just keep it there. You've got something going. You'll regret it if you suddenly just quit it all and you've got nothing to go back to.
And the fact that what do you think gave you, so I want my listeners to hear, because you had a lot, and there's going to be people that are listening that are like, yes, I have all these things that are standing in my way, and I don't know how to follow a passion or a hobby. Like, can you pinpoint one thing or two things that made you be like, fuck it, I just got to go for it?
Yeah, definitely. I can totally pinpoint one moment where a coach in a group was doing free money mindset calls. And I was thinking, I'm not getting this business going, because suddenly I was under pressure. My husband wasn't working. I had to make money in this business. And I tell people all the time, you can't do it when you're under pressure. With that desperation, it doesn't work. And I thought, I'll do this money mindset call. I've got a mindset issue about money. So I did the call, and she said to me, instead of making it about like the money that you need to make, why don't you write out your goal every single day about the impact that you want to make? on the world. Like, what is it? Why have you started this business? Is what she basically said. And that literally was all that got me through, or kept me going the next few months, was every time I'd started doing that. I started a practice of doing that every single day, the top of my to-do list, writing the impact. Like, I just want to help like hundreds of women to feel the freedom that I felt from having my own business. And that is the single thing that got me through every single day, was to switch it completely from I need this to generate an income and to take the focus off like all the things that were going on in my life and make this business about other people. So yeah, definitely making it about others was all that got me through.
Which is huge, which I think is, I feel like for women, that's something that we can do a little bit more naturally, because I feel like for the majority of women, I know there's some women that are not going to agree with that, but we do think as mothers, really as a mothers, we think of other people. So I love that. Yeah. I love that advice. Can you also share with like, just one or two of your like businesses that just make you like, that you helped start, that just give you like the biggest smile on your face, that you knew that you were a part of that to help them? Do you have like one or two that you can just share the story about a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. There was a lady that I helped very early last year who is, in fact, she didn't even sign up as a client, to be honest. We just did one of my free sessions that I spoke about when I first started, and then we kept in touch. And she was making like handmade jewelry on Etsy. She just started when I met her. And these are hers, actually, these earrings that I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah, I love those. Yeah, those are cute.
Yeah, and I've just loved watching her grow and blossom over the last year. She's bought my little things that I do, like little workshop here and a sort of lower price product there, and she's taken all the information and she's really implemented it, and I've just loved watching her grow into this confident person. I love it when she puts on Instagram, she's like packaging up 20 orders, and it just gives me such a kick to know that she's bringing so much joy to people through what she's creating, and every day for her is just filled with this love of what she does. I mean, it's hard. It's not always easy and fun and, bed of roses, but it's wonderful to see. And so, sorry, let me just have a quick think. I'm working with so many wonderful women right now. I can't actually narrow it down to one.
So you could you could say that, just be like, I'm working with so many that there's hard to, but just like the fact that the feeling you get when you see, just like you talk about the earrings, I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't actually pinpoint another one because I'm working with so many amazing businesses, but the ones that really I get such a kick out of is if they have a purpose bigger than themselves. And
I love that.
I spoke to someone this morning who's potentially going to be a client, and they're making like handmade soaps to get people to stop buying plastic bottles with shower gel, and they're just so passionate. They're living the whole concept themselves. It's not just like, I want to start it because I can see it's trendy and it's going to make money. It's right. There's like such a big purpose behind it, and they're going to go on to great things, and I love being a part of that.
Oh, I love that. Well, Lee, I just have to say thank you so much for joining us and sharing. Again, you find you at I am Lee McQueen, right? And Lee is Lee.
Yes.
Yep. And McQueen, McQueen, just the way it sounds. But I'm dyslexic, so I always spell everything out for people so they can get it. And you guys can find her there if you have questions. As she says, she does a ton of workshops. If you guys have a passion or something and you don't know where to start, reach out to Lee. She is here to help. And Lee, again, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. I just love what you're doing with this podcast. I love the purpose and the passion behind what you're doing. So
thank you. It's bringing me... Well, it's bringing me so much joy. It really, really is. So guys, if you like what you hear, please share, rate, review, and send this out from every platform that you have. And next week, don't forget to tune in for another episode of Love What You Do series with another woman lighting the world on fire. Again, Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you liked this episode of Your Next Stop. Please subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and join in each week.